So while I was waiting for the paint stripper to work on this, I went down and was working in the hangar a little bit, took the jury struts off. Everything was pretty well coated with peralcatone. So I put all that stuff in a bucket or in a tray with some paint thinner in it to loosen up the peralcatone, make it easier to get off. And I went down there and cleaned that stuff up. And the jury struts themselves are in really good shape. There is no problem with the jury struts at all. They look good. The paint's intact on them. There's no sign of any rust or anything. But when I was cleaning up these pieces here go between the two jury struts. Anyway, they were rusted pretty good here on the ends. And then some of these fittings and stuff were showing rust pretty good on them. So I brought those up and stripped the paint off of these. I'll take these down to the sandblaster now and sandblast these, and then I'm going to coat everything with a corrosion resistant powder coating primer. Well, I've got some of my parts and pieces for the jury struts or the wing struts. Stripped them with some paint stripper so that they'd be easier to sandblast. Got the paint off of them. These are the spreader bars here. Well, I brought them down here to the shop to sandblast them. But my air regulator had malfunctioned earlier, so I had to dig out a new air regulator and fix it. I got it fitted up there and got it working. This canister right here has desiccant in it. That's to dry the air out, so you don't get moisture in the paint and the sandblasting and stuff. You get moisture in the air anyway when it compresses, but everything is so wet around here, the humidity is so high that it can be a real problem. So I have that air dryer there. Anyway, I got that all fixed and the air regulator works now. Well, this sandblasting cabinet has this nice big door on it with a big window on it. And when I got it, it came with some plastic sheets that you could glue in there for sacrificial sheets to protect this main glass. Now, those didn't work very well. For one thing, they distort the view a little bit in there, but they also get blasted real quick. They don't last very long. But what I did was I got a piece of regular single weight window glass and then taped it in there using some carpet tape, some double-sided tape. Well, that has got eroded now to the point where you can't see through it. I started to use it anyway. I'd get over to this one side over here where it's not eroded so bad, and I could look down in there and kind of see in there better. But everything is set in here so long, and it was damp. The gloves were damp. I could barely get my fingers in and out of them, and that window just started fogging up between the glazed window glass in there and being fogged up. It was just about impossible to use it. So I called up the hardware store, ordered a new piece of glass to put in there, and they didn't have anybody to cut it yesterday. Well, I just went to town today and got it while I was getting ready to put that in. Meanwhile, I went ahead and got some wood to build a fire in here in the wood stove, and it's gotten dried out in here and warmed up pretty good, so it's pretty nice in here now. Well, I just came in here trying to get this piece off, and I made a mistake by using so much of that double stick tape on there. I run it to full length here. I wanted to seal up between these two layers so I didn't get dust and dirt in there between the two glasses. So I run double stick tape the full length here, top and bottom. Well, now I can't get that glass off of there. It's done its job too well. I don't want to break the sacrificial glass in there because that'll make a mess, but I don't want to break the main glass in there either because that'll be even worse. Try not to do that way next time. I'll just put a couple pieces of tape on there, small pieces. Well, I'm having a heck of a time getting this glass out of here. I put too much of that tape on there. Like I said that already. I tried to use it to go along the perimeter of this whole thing to seal the dust out, to keep the dust and sand from getting in between these two panes of glass. Well, I couldn't get it undone. So what I started doing was taking some of this lacquer thinner and a little paintbrush and spreading the lacquer thinner here along between the seam in the glass there so it'd run down and loosen up that tape. And that really wasn't doing enough. Well, it loosens the tape up a little bit on part of it, but it doesn't penetrate all of it, and the lacquer thinner evaporates before, by the time you get anything in there. Started breaking this glass, and I got this piece of, this is a strip of stainless steel. This is the stuff I cut with the plasma cutter and then used it to form up those boxes that I made the backseat heater control box with. This is just a strip that I cut off of that. I bent the end of that, and so I could stick it in here and twist it down between the glass, between the panes of glass, and got it down in there and started cutting that foam tape a little bit, and I got it loosened up, but it was breaking pretty good. The glass broke. So what I've done here now is I've taken some masking tape and just taped that whole glass with the masking tape there, so that this glass is breaking and it'll kind of contain that. I've got it loose from the top up here. What's the top as it's sitting, which is actually the bottom. I've got it loose from that. Well, now I'm putting some of that lacquer thinner on there to run down the whole face and hopefully loosen up the glue on this bottom piece. I'm getting it loose, getting it to come loose. I don't want to break it any more than I have to. See, it's starting to come loose a little bit there, but it's still tight down there on the bottom. So I'm hoping maybe if I can get that lacquer thinner to run down there and loosen up that tape down there on this section here, then I can get it come off there without breaking up into too small pieces. Okay, it's coming now. Alright, I got it. Okay, I got one little piece of glass. This thing broke up pretty good. Get that piece off there. A lot of times what I'll try to do is save this glass that gets eroded like this. Might be able to use it for a smoked window someplace or something like that. I suppose it could cut out a little section in the middle of this that's still good, but it's pretty much destroyed, so I think I'll just go throw this piece in the garbage can. Tomorrow's garbage day. Well, anyway, putting that tape on there really saved a lot. It kept all the little chunks and stuff in there from getting all over the place. So that's good. Now I can clean that tape residue off there. And I'm not going to use near as much to put this other piece on as I did the first one. I think I'll put some on there to hold it on, and then I'll use some masking tape around the edges and around the perimeter of it to seal it up so the dust doesn't get in there. I got that window cleaned up, and this other one cleaned up too. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, and I still put the double stick tape on there, the carpet tape on there, but I just put it in the two corners instead of putting it all the way around there like I did before. I've got this masking tape that I use to put on that glass to keep it from falling all over the place. I'm going to go ahead and put that around here to seal that up so it keeps the dust and grit out from between those two layers of glass, hopefully. Now, hopefully the next time that I go to take that glass out and change it, I'll be able to get it out of there without going to extreme measures like I did before. I got all my wing strut parts all cleaned up and sandblasted. They look a lot better. These are the tubes, spreader tubes that go between the two jury struts. And these are the clamps that fit around the main wing struts. Everything clamps too. Those are all cleaned up nice and pretty. Well, I got my shop sort of straightened out. I got enough that I could get this stuff taken care of anyway. I got one of my powder coat guns. This is an Eastwood dual voltage one I found on eBay. I'm trying to get enough of those so that I can have several of them, 2 or 3 of them anyway, that I can keep different colors in when I'm painting. For example, I've got the corrosion resistant primer in this one, and a lot of my painting has been done with black, so I keep black in one of them. You got my parts cleaned up. I'd cleaned them up earlier. I just went over them again to get the flash rust off of them that would have developed while I was getting the everything set up to do the powder coating. I've got to fix up some hangers for those to hang them up. I'm just going to use my old kitchen range oven and powder coat them on that. And I've got it set up with a rack that goes in the kitchen range oven. I've got it hanging up out there, and I'll take some wires and wire these things up and suspend them from that, and then I'll paint them out there hanging from that rack, and then slide the rack in the oven. I've got all of those pieces hanging up from that oven rack. Used some 20,000 safety wire run through them to make little hangers for them, and wired them all up on there. So I washed those all down with Prepsol. I tried using lacquer thinner, but I wasn't getting very good coating on that, and doing a little research, they say not to use lacquer thinner because it's dirty. And if you put, well, like I was cleaning the window up on that sandblasting cabinet there earlier, and you can see the oily sheen left behind by the lacquer thinner if you use it. So anyway, I used Prepsol on that, and that's kind of a kerosene type of cleaner, and because it's damp here, especially today, everything gets moisture on it anyway, and it takes quite a while for that Prepsol to evaporate. So I take a propane torch and run over all that stuff and heat it up and kind of get it to dry out. So I'm going to go ahead and coat those now. I've got my coating gun all set up there and everything, so I'll go ahead and coat those now and stick them in the oven and cook them. So now I'll just take this and stick it in the oven. Here's all the jury strut parts all done. Oh, they're all in primer anyway. So those are going to be like that for a while. They look a little different, all gray, than they did blasted metal, white metal. They look pretty good, better than they did all rusty. Actually, they weren't too bad. There was rust on the ends of some of these here where the bolts fit into them, but the rest of them weren't too bad. There was some rust showing on these tabs here and stuff, but get them all cleaned up now, powder coated, and then when I get ready to paint the flap, then I'll mix the paint up and paint these two at the same time for the airplane color. Hopefully they'll last another 20 years if I do that.